The ancient dragon floated high above the village, his massive wings stirring the clouds as he watched the smoke rise from the ruins below. The fire had come from far away, from ships that glowed like stars in the night sky. They had attacked the small human village without mercy. The dragon did not strike. He did not move to stop it. He had seen hundreds of worlds burn and hundreds of species fall. Humans were small, fragile, and their lives were short. To him they were not important. Yet still he watched. His golden eyes reflected the flames, flickering like twin suns. The village had been alive just moments before, full of laughter, chatter, and the smell of baked bread and fresh water. Now it was empty, quiet except for the crackling of burning wood and the distant echoes of falling debris. He had no reason to care. He had nothing to gain. And yet, his claws itched to descend. As the smoke drifted across the land, a sound reached his ears. It was small, fragile, almost hidden beneath the roar of the dying fire. A human child crying. Alone. The dragon's head tilted. It had been a long time since he had heard the sound of pure fear mixed with hope. Most creatures shrieked, begged, or fled. But this tiny human continued to cry, calling out in its soft, broken voice. The dragon folded his wings and landed among the ruins, his heavy tail crushing fallen beams, his claws leaving deep marks in the earth. The child froze, trembling, eyes wide and shining with tears. The dragon expected the child to scream, to run, or to throw stones. But the human did nothing of the sort. Instead, the child looked up at him directly. There was no hatred, no anger, no revenge in the child's eyes. Only fear, yes, but also something strange. Curiosity, innocence, and trust. The dragon blinked, surprised. Something long buried inside him stirred. Memories of a time when his own kind were young, when the stars were new and the universe still held wonders yet to be discovered, returned. He had been alone then, wandering the cosmos, learning the paths of planets, watching life grow. Now he watched this tiny human and felt a strange weight in his chest. He lowered his massive head closer to the child. The human did not flinch. The dragon sniffed the small human, noting the scent of smoke, dust, and a faint sweetness of berries from the village gardens. The dragon had smelled many creatures, many species across countless worlds. But this scent was different. Alive. Fragile yet stubborn. The child spoke, voice small but steady. Are you going to eat me? The dragon's lips curled slightly. He did not eat humans. His kind had long moved past such things. He did not answer with words, he did not need to. He simply lowered one huge wing until it spread over the child, shielding him from the cold wind and the falling ash. The warmth of his body spread to the small human, and the child's lips curled into the first small smile since the fire began. Hours passed and the dragon stayed. He had no home, no purpose, no promise of reward. But the child needed him, and in that need, the dragon discovered something he had not felt in centuries: care. The stars above flickered faintly as if observing this unlikely bond. He listened to the child's soft sobs slowly quiet down. He heard the small human speak of home, of family, of friends lost to the fire. And though he had not thought it possible, he understood grief. The dragon realized that humans were different from the other creatures he had seen. They were fragile, yes, and short-lived, but there was something in them that no other species had. They hoped. They endured. Even in the face of impossible loss, the human child had not given up. The dragon felt a strange pride, a pull to protect, to watch over, to shield. As night fell, the dragon wrapped his wings more tightly around the child, who had finally curled into a small ball against the warmth. The stars glittered above like distant diamonds, and the ashes of the village smoldered quietly below. For the first time in many centuries, the dragon did not feel alone. He had a purpose, even if it was small, to guard this tiny human. The fire had taken the village. The world had tried to end this child. But the dragon had chosen differently. Somewhere deep inside, he knew that this small human was important. Not because of strength, not because of power, but because he had survived when all else was lost. And as the child drifted into a fragile sleep beneath the dragon's wing, the ancient creature looked to the stars and wondered what the future held. The wind carried the smoke away. The night was calm. And in the darkness, the dragon whispered softly to himself, a promise that stretched across the silent ruins. He would not let the child fall. Not now. Not ever. The morning sun rose slowly over the ruins of the village, painting the broken houses and charred fields in soft gold and orange. The dragon stretched his massive wings, feeling the warmth of the sun on his scales. The child stirred beneath him, blinking sleepily at the first light. He had slept through the night without fear, and for the first time since the fire, he felt safe. The dragon looked at the child, who was small and fragile compared to his enormous size. He remembered the child's soft voice, the way he had not screamed or run away. The child had survived alone in a world that had tried to destroy him. That alone was remarkable. The dragon had lived for thousands of years, and yet he had rarely seen courage like this. The child rubbed his eyes and looked around at the ruined village. I have nowhere to go, he said softly. His voice was full of sadness, but also determination. Everyone else, they're gone. The dragon lowered his head closer to the child. He could not speak human words, not fully, but he could communicate in ways older than language. He nudged the child gently with his snout and wrapped a wing around him again. The child understood. The dragon would stay. The child would not be alone. The dragon led the child away from the village, flying low so the human could walk between the ridges of his wings. They moved across the open fields, through forests that had survived the fire, and toward a mountain range far in the distance. The dragon knew of a hidden cave there, carved by winds and time, large enough to shelter both of them. During their journey, the dragon used the ancient technology within his scales to help the child. Small beams of light healed scrapes and cuts, leaving the child stronger with each passing hour. The dragon's warmth kept the child comfortable during cold nights, and his immense shadow protected him from distant patrols of alien ships searching for survivors. The child began to eat more, drink more, and even smile. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the child spoke again. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. "You didn't start the fire. You didn't have to save me. You could just leave me here." The dragon thought about it. His kind rarely interfered. They watched civilizations rise and fall. They had power but little attachment. Yet now he felt something he had not felt for centuries: care. The child's survival mattered. Perhaps it was because the child reminded him of the life he had seen in other species long gone. Perhaps it was because humans, though small, carried a spark no other species had. He lowered his massive head so that their eyes met. The child did not understand the dragon's thoughts, but he felt the meaning. The dragon wanted him to live. He wanted him to grow. And in the child's trust, the dragon felt a connection stronger than any he had known. As days passed, the child began to speak more. He asked questions about the dragon, about the stars, about the worlds the dragon had seen. "Have you seen other villages burn?" he asked one night. Yes, the dragon thought, though he did not say it aloud. Many civilizations had fallen under alien attacks. Many creatures had died. But the child had survived. And that was different. That was hope. The child also began to learn from the dragon. He watched how the dragon moved, how he used his strength carefully, and how he thought before acting. The dragon showed him how to read the stars and navigate the skies. He taught him that even small beings could endure if they did not give up. The child began to imagine a future, one where he could help others, one where humans could survive, no matter how weak they seemed. One night, the dragon and the child rested in a hidden cave in the mountains. The child looked up at the dragon's massive eyes, shining like molten gold in the firelight. "Will we be safe?" he asked. The dragon lowered a wing over him, shielding him from the cold. He could not promise safety forever. No one could. But he could promise protection now. He could promise that the child would not face the universe alone. And that promise was enough. The dragon felt the child's small hand reach up and touch his snout. It was a simple gesture, but it filled him with an ancient warmth. He had watched species die, planets fall, and stars fade, yet this small human had taught him something new. Even the smallest beings could be brave. Even the weakest could inspire. Even the lost could be saved. They spent the night under the dragon's wings, listening to the wind whistle through the mountains. The child whispered stories about his family, about his village, about what he remembered of home. The dragon listened, holding the memories close. Though the village was gone, the child's hope remained. And hope was something no fire, no war, no alien fleet could destroy. As dawn broke, the dragon unfurled his wings and lifted the child gently. "Today we keep moving," the dragon thought. There were other lands, other places where humans might survive. And the child would be ready. He would learn. He would endure. And the dragon would be there, watching, teaching, and protecting. In that moment, the dragon understood a truth older than stars. Survival was not just about strength. It was about persistence, courage, and the bonds between unlikely friends. And together, the ancient dragon and the human child would face the universe, one step at a time. The dragon and the child traveled across the land, leaving the ruins of the village far behind. The wind blew through the child's hair as he walked between the dragon's massive wings. The dragon moved carefully, making sure the child did not stumble on rocks or tree roots. Every step was slow, deliberate, but steady. The world was not safe, but with the dragon nearby, the child felt a courage he had never known before. They passed forests that had survived the fire. The trees were tall and strong, their leaves whispering in the wind. The dragon landed in a small clearing one evening, letting the child explore while he rested. The child ran among the trees, laughing quietly at the birds and small animals that had survived the flames. It was a sound the dragon had not heard in centuries, a pure human joy. The child began to ask questions about the dragon's world. "Where do the stars go when they fall?" he asked. "How did you get so big? Can humans be like you someday?" The dragon thought carefully. Humans could never grow scales like his or wings like his. They could never breathe fire or fly across planets in a single night. But the dragon understood something important. Humans could grow in other ways. They could learn, adapt, and survive. That was power enough. "You will grow strong," the dragon replied, "but not in my way. You will grow in ways I cannot, ways that will surprise everyone." The child nodded, his eyes wide with curiosity. He wanted to see the universe, to learn its secrets. The dragon smiled quietly, for he had once felt the same curiosity when he was young. He began to teach the child about the stars, about planets and moons, about comets that raced across the sky. He showed the child how to read the constellations, to understand which direction to go when the path seemed uncertain. Days turned into weeks and the child grew stronger. He ran faster, climbed higher, and learned to move with the dragon's guidance. The dragon too noticed a change. The human was no longer afraid of him. The child spoke clearly, laughed loudly, and even argued when he thought the dragon was wrong. The dragon had never known such bravery in such a small creature. He felt proud and protective at the same time. One evening, while they rested near a quiet river, the dragon saw movement in the sky. Alien patrols were searching for survivors. The dragon did not panic. He had faced these ships many times before. But now there was someone to protect. The child looked up at him, and the dragon could see trust in his small eyes. That trust was stronger than fear. The dragon lifted the child carefully onto his back. With a single powerful flap of his wings, he lifted them high above the trees. The ships below could not reach them. The child held on tightly, not afraid, for he knew the dragon would not let anything harm him. The dragon's shadow passed over forests, rivers, and mountains, a silent warning to anyone who might think of chasing them. During these flights, the dragon taught the child to observe, to understand, to think ahead. "See the world," the dragon thought, "and you will see the paths humans can take. You will survive not because you are strong, but because you do not give up." The child listened carefully, soaking in every lesson, every movement, every story the dragon shared. They also met other survivors along the way, humans who had hidden from the aliens. The child began to help them, sharing what he had learned from the dragon. He guided them to safe places, and slowly he began to see that humans could work together, protect one another, and rebuild even after the worst disasters. The dragon watched quietly, proud of this small human who carried hope like a flame. One night, while they camped under a sky full of stars, the child spoke again. "Do you think humans can really survive all of this?" he asked softly. The dragon lowered his head so that their eyes met. He did not need words. He showed the child the endless sky above them, the stars that had burned for thousands of years, and the planets that still held life. "Humans survive," the dragon thought, "because they will never give up, no matter how small they are." The child smiled, feeling the truth in the dragon's silence. He knew he could face the future with courage. He knew he was not alone. The dragon had become more than a protector. He had become a teacher, a friend, and a guide. And the child, though small and fragile, began to feel a strength he had never known before. As they flew over mountains and rivers, across forests and valleys, the dragon realized something else. The child's courage, hope, and curiosity were more powerful than any weapon. The aliens might destroy villages, but they could not destroy human spirit. The dragon had watched civilizations fall before, but never had he seen such quiet, stubborn endurance. The child leaned forward, pointing at a distant city still untouched by war. "Do you think they need help?" he asked. The dragon smiled and sighed. Soon they would reach other survivors. Soon the child would learn that humans were capable of much more than anyone imagined. And the dragon would be there, as always, to guide him, protect him, and remind him of the lessons the universe had taught across countless worlds. The wind rushed past them as they flew, carrying ash from distant battles. Yet the child did not fear. He had learned to trust. He had learned to endure. And the dragon, watching him from above, knew that this small human was the beginning of something far greater than any single village, any single world, or any single battle. Together they would face the universe step by step, wing by wing, heart by heart. The dragon and the child had traveled far across forests, mountains, and rivers. They had found small groups of humans hiding from the alien forces. The child had grown stronger, braver, and wiser with each passing day. He no longer trembled at the sight of danger. He had learned from the dragon how to see the world clearly, how to think before acting, and how to survive even when hope seemed lost. But the alien empire that had destroyed the child's village was still searching. Ships patrolled the skies, scanning the lands for any sign of survivors. They believed that all humans were weak, that no small species could resist them. They had fought countless worlds before and conquered almost all. They did not know that one small human child and one ancient dragon could change everything. One evening, the dragon saw a fleet of ships approaching from the horizon. Their engines glowed red like fire. The child looked up, his eyes wide but calm. "They found us," he said. The dragon did not panic. He had faced fleets before, alone and unafraid. But now he had someone to protect. The child's life mattered more than any battle. The dragon lowered himself to the ground and wrapped his massive wings around the child. "Stay close," he thought. The ships descended, expecting to find helpless humans. They were wrong. The dragon rose into the sky, and the child held tightly to his back. The dragon's eyes glowed gold as he spread his wings wide. He was not just a creature. He was an ancient being, bioengineered long ago to protect life, to guard civilizations, to endure when others fell. The aliens fired energy beams, but they bounced harmlessly off the dragon's scales. He moved with speed and precision, weaving between their attacks, dodging missiles and lasers. The child watched in awe, feeling no fear. He had learned that bravery did not mean never being afraid. It meant standing strong even when the world seemed against you. The dragon did not attack for revenge. He did not destroy the alien ships for anger. He fought because he must protect the child, because he must show the aliens that humans were not as weak as they believed. He moved with grace and power, shielding the child at every turn. From below, the humans hiding in the forest saw the dragon and the child. They had thought all hope was lost. But now they understood something new. Humans could survive. They could endure. They could rise again. Inspired, they began to emerge from hiding, gathering their courage to escape, to rebuild, to fight in their own ways. The child shouted instructions to them, showing what he had learned from the dragon. He pointed to safe paths, guided them to hidden caves, and encouraged them to keep moving. He was small, but his voice was strong. He was human, and he refused to give up. The aliens were surprised. They had expected fear, surrender, or chaos. Instead, they saw coordination, hope, and life. The dragon roared, a sound that shook the mountains and echoed across valleys. It was a warning, a reminder that humans were not alone. The aliens faltered, unsure how to fight a creature of such power that protected something so small. They had underestimated both. The child leaned forward, pointing to one of the smaller ships. "We can distract them," he said. He used what he had learned from the dragon: strategy, observation, and patience. Together they moved through the fleet, avoiding direct attacks while guiding the humans on the ground to safety. Each small decision mattered. Each step, each wing beat protected life. By nightfall, the dragon had driven the alien fleet away, not by destroying them, but by showing that humans were not weak and unprotected. The child had grown into a leader, guiding humans with courage and wisdom beyond his years. The dragon hovered above, proud yet quiet. He did not need words to communicate his approval. The humans understood. They had survived because of the child and the dragon together. As the stars appeared overhead, the child spoke softly to the dragon. "We can survive, can't we?" he asked. The dragon lowered his head, letting the child touch his snout. "Yes," he thought. "Humans survive because they endure. They survive because they refuse to give up. And you, small one, have shown them the way." The child smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. He had been scared, alone, and weak once. Now he stood among survivors, guiding them with courage and hope. The dragon had taught him strength was not just power, it was wisdom, protection, and the will to endure. In the quiet that followed the battle, humans began to gather around the dragon and the child. They told stories of bravery, of hope, and of the small human who had stood with a giant dragon against an empire. And far above, the dragon and the child looked to the stars, knowing that the universe was wide, dangerous, and full of challenges, but also full of life worth protecting. The dragon understood something deeper than ever before. Humans might be fragile, but their courage and hope could change the course of history. The child, too, realized his small size did not matter. With guidance, knowledge, and courage, even the smallest human could make a difference. The alien empire would return, perhaps. But the dragon and the child had shown that humanity was never truly alone. And the dragon would remain, watching, teaching, and protecting, while the child led humans to endure, survive, and rise again. Together they were a force the universe could not ignore. The dragon and the child had traveled far across many lands. They had saved humans from danger, guided survivors, and faced fleets of aliens that thought humanity was weak. The child had grown taller, stronger, and wiser with every step. He had learned from the dragon that courage was not about size or strength, it was about will, hope, and persistence. And now it was time for him to lead. They arrived at a valley where humans had begun to rebuild. Small huts and farms were scattered across the land. People worked together, planting, repairing, and planning for the future. The child walked among them, offering guidance, encouragement, and wisdom. He had seen despair and fear, but now he showed them something new, hope. And hope was contagious. The dragon watched from a high cliff above. His golden eyes swept across the valley. The humans below did not need him as much now, they had the child. But the dragon remained, circling above, silent and powerful, a guardian watching over a new era. The aliens would return, he knew. They would never stop seeking to destroy what they did not understand. But the humans would be ready. The child had learned strategy, courage, and endurance from him. That was enough. The child climbed onto a small rise in the valley and spoke to the humans. His voice was calm, firm, and full of authority. We have survived. We are not weak. We are humans and we endure. Together we can rebuild, protect each other, and rise stronger than before. The humans listened, their eyes shining with determination. They had once thought they were alone. Now they knew they had someone to lead them. The dragon landed beside the child, careful not to frighten the humans. The child placed a hand on the dragon's massive snout, and the humans saw the bond between them. It was clear that the dragon was not a beast, they were allies. They were partners in survival, guardians of life, and witnesses to the strength of humanity. In the days that followed, the valley grew. Humans worked together to build homes, repair farms, and establish safe paths through forests and mountains. The child guided them with intelligence and courage. He remembered the lessons of the dragon: plan carefully, act decisively, and never give up. And above all, protect life. The alien empire watched from afar. They had expected easy victories, weak survivors, and no resistance. But now they saw something they did not expect: humans who had survived, learned, and grown stronger. They saw small beings who could think, plan, and endure in ways no empire had imagined. And they saw the dragon, ancient and powerful, guarding the child and all the humans with unyielding vigilance. The child understood what this meant. It was not about revenge. It was about survival, resilience, and the spark of life that refused to die. Humans could be fragile, yes, but their spirit was unbreakable. They could endure loss, face danger, and rise again. The dragon had shown him the way, but now it was his turn to lead. One evening, the child and the dragon sat atop a hill, watching the sun set over the valley. The sky was painted in gold and crimson, and the wind carried the scent of new life. The dragon lowered a wing over the child as he had done so many nights before. You have learned well, the dragon thought. You have seen weakness and turned it into strength. You have seen despair and turned it into hope. You have survived when all seemed lost. The child looked at the dragon and smiled. I could not have done it without you, he said. You showed me how to survive, how to think, and how to protect others. I will never forget that. The dragon nodded in his own way. He had watched countless civilizations rise and fall. He had seen countless species die and disappear. But this small human had taught him something new. Even the smallest beings could change the universe if they refused to give up. Humanity, fragile as it seemed, had the power to endure because of courage, wisdom, and hope. The dragon lifted into the sky, circling above the valley. The humans below waved, smiling and cheering. The child stood among them, no longer small, no longer fragile. He had become a leader, a symbol of hope, and a reminder that survival was not about strength alone, it was about the will to endure. From that day forward, humans in the valley flourished. They explored new lands, learned from each other, and rebuilt what was lost. The dragon continued to watch over them, a silent guardian who had chosen to protect the smallest human and, through him, the future of humanity. The child often looked up at the dragon, remembering the nights when he had been afraid, alone, and lost. Now he understood. survival was not just about fighting or hiding. It was about learning, enduring, protecting, and inspiring others. It was about refusing to give up, no matter how impossible the odds. And so, under the watchful eyes of the ancient dragon, the humans endured. They grew. They thrived. And they carried with them the lessons of courage, hope, and persistence. The dragon had saved one child, but through that child, he had helped humanity discover its greatest strength, the power to survive, endure, and rise again. The stars shone above them, quiet witnesses to the small human who had survived, the dragon who had protected, and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The child looked up, smiling at the dragon, and whispered softly, "We will be okay." The dragon lowered his head and nudged the child gently. Together, they watched the horizon, ready to face whatever the universe would bring next. Humanity was alive. Humanity had hope. And with the dragon above and the child leading, nothing could stop them.